Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne. And recently on my community tab, I asked everyone what their least favorite character design is, and it ended up getting a lot deeper and more interesting than I expected. So today I'm going to be redrawing people's most hated character designs just to see if I can respond to these criticisms and if I can make a character design that people feel works better. Though, just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with liking the characters or their designs, and I don't necessarily think I'm better than the original creators or anything. This is sort of just a fun thought experiment. I'm going to describe this first character in text, and I want you to imagine what she looks like. So this is a character who appears to be 16 years old. She is incredibly physically strong, way more than the average person, and she has amazing fire powers. She's also part of what's known as the Chaos faction. Take from that what you will. She has horns on her head, and she is a incredibly aggressive character who hates humanity. Picture that character in your mind. This is what she looks like. By far, under this post, the name that popped up the most was Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and specifically Ilulu, who is a character from the second season. The main complaints that everyone had are that Ilulu looks really young and is very sexualized, and also that her body is just generally out of proportion. Like, from an artistic and design standpoint, even for anime, this is really crazy. I drew out her frame underneath her chest, and I did little ovals where I expect her breast tissue could possibly be coming from. And as you can see, it's just not really lining up. No matter how big it is, it shouldn't be reaching down to her belly button while also sticking out that far. It doesn't look right. It looks weird. And I also think that generally with characters who are this busty, unless they've canonically had some sort of breast implant or something, it's weird for them to have so much fat in one particular part of their body and then not really much anywhere else. But the main issue with her that everyone is having is that she looks really young. She looks like Kana's age, who's supposed to appear in human years to be a third grader. And, they're claiming that this character is supposed to look 16. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to age her up a little bit and add more mass onto other parts of her body to help her be more in proportion. My initial thought was, I think, one that most people had, which is just lop them off. But I don't think that that's necessarily the right way to go about it. I mean, this is clearly a key part of her character, so I'm going to try to include a fairly large chest because, I mean, this is what stands out most about her, and it's referenced constantly in the show, unfortunately. So I didn't want to just take an easy way out and just cut them off. So the key and most important thing for me was trying to take the things we know about her actual personality, her traits, her powers, and try to make that into a character design. So we know that she's supposed to appear 16, so we're aging her up. We know that she's extremely busty, and she's extremely strong. So I'm adding mass to other parts of her body. I'm making her legs thicker and stronger looking, and generally just bulking her out. And because we know that her chest is really ungainly and gets in her way, it's not unrealistic to imagine that she would want to wear something that's more supportive. So I gave her sort of this bustier kind of thing, which I think also matches with the vaguely high fantasy design aesthetics that we see with the characters sometimes. I'm basing this redesign on her outfit that she's seen wearing initially, where she's in a cape with a fur collar. I'll show a picture. She's also in a black thong. I mean, I completely get why this character design gets a lot of flack. I'm also doing what I normally do with character designs and trying to just add more visual representation of who this character is. I feel especially once she takes off her ridiculous thong outfit and is just wearing this weirdly form-fitting sack dress and thigh highs, what is this even telling us about her? So I tried to do almost this torn up chaotic flame detail around the edge of her cape because her main power is fire. That's her whole thing. She's also from the Chaos faction, so I wanted her to look more chaotic, and she hates humanity, at least at the start. So I wanted her to look angrier and scarier and older. And that's mainly what I went with. I gave her sort of a gothy, more structured outfit I did like a high-low kind of pleated skirt. I wanted to give her some pleats in her skirt, almost to kind of allude to like a school uniform thing, because it's anime and she's supposed to be a teen. So I was trying to get that like teen energy in there somewhere, because she just is not giving us that. I also changed her horns so they just went straight up, just because I felt like it looked more like fire and I thought it would look more cool. And I added in some more color, particularly like oranges and yellows, to get more of that fiery look. So here is the final design. I know she is not giving even remotely the same kind of energy. This is by far my most dramatic redesign, I think. But let me know what you think. The next most frequent request after Ilulu was definitely Sister Crone from the Promised Neverland. This is an anime that I absolutely loved when it came out, and I watched the whole thing in like only a matter of days. But there was one thing that did stick out to me that really bothered me, and it seems to have stuck out and bothered a lot of other people as well, and that is the character Sister Crone. Now, it's really unfortunate because I really like this character. I actually think that she's one of the most interesting antagonists I've ever seen in anything. I think her and Isabella are great foils to each other. Without spoiling anything, she just makes interesting choices, and it makes her really fun and dynamic to watch. So unlike with Ilulu, there aren't a lot of complaints about how she actually is, like her writing. All of the complaints are really about how she looks and how she's depicted at different parts of the series. The main complaints that I saw, and ones that I frankly agree with, are that she looks like she's not in the same art style, she's not being stylized in the same way, and that there are scenes where she straight up looks like a stereotype and a caricature that feels like extremely racist. I honestly was considering not even getting into this one, just because, you know, I'm not exactly like the arbiter of how to draw Black people. But with that being said, I do think there's a fairly simple rule that you can follow and stay out of like this level of offensive, which is just to like stylize everyone the same way. You know, if you're omitting nostrils on a character, like as you can see, Isabella's nose is just a line, you can do that with your Black characters too. Like, it's not like you have to be treating them completely differently, drawing their faces completely differently, you know? It's a complicated issue, but when it comes to anime, I do feel like this is probably the best way forward, and I think shows like Michiko and Hatchin, which largely follow this same sort of technique, are not as criticized, because it is just, it's a better rule of thumb. And I think when there is a big history of like cartoons being used as a weapon against people, especially when you're drawing someone who is not a group that you're a part of, whether you're Japanese or white or whatever, and you're drawing Black people, it's worth putting in a little bit of extra effort to make sure that you're not doing anything like heinous. The other major change I made outside of changing the way that her face is stylized and her nose and lips are drawn is that I wanted her to look younger. And the primary reason for that is I realized that she's supposed to be 26 years old, and she does not look like she's in her mid-20s to me, especially in the manga. She looks like she could be anywhere from like 30 to 45 maybe even. In the anime she looks a little younger, but generally, yeah, she's just not reading to me as a woman in her 20s. She has just a vibe to her that does not look that young. So I wanted to try to make her look a little younger. I made her eyes a little bit bigger, and I just generally I made her hair a little more like fluffy and voluminous to like reach farther out to like her shoulders. And generally I think I made her look a little cuter. I feel like that would just match better, and I think her walking alongside with Isabella would feel like it, I don't know, like they match more. I also made her irises a little bit bigger so we can actually like see them, and they're like anime-ized in the same way that Isabella's and the kids are. And for her scary version, I wanted to give her a little like flash of red at the bottom, because I feel like that's like such an anime staple, and I thought it would look cool. Next up, I could not make a bad character designs video without giving a little love and attention to the creme de la creme of bad character designs, and that is Becky from Tough Puppy. Now, I don't know many people who've actually watched Tough Puppy, but it became semi-famous for this character design. This character's name is Becky, and the first thing that you're going to notice is that her mouth is like right underneath her eye. It's above her nose, and it's like near some freckles that are also not placed particularly well. And then her nose also, because of the way it's highlighted, looks like a hole. That's just falling through her face. It's truly a nightmare festival. So the first thing is I wanted to do two different versions. The first one, I'm just sort of redrawing her. I mean, it's like the most obvious thing ever, but like just moving her mouth down and generally stylizing her in a slightly more charming way, I think. I don't like, also, this is not something that people complain about generally, but I don't like how her hair is slicked down completely flat to her head. Like, that just looks not good to me. So I decided to give her bangs a little volume. I like sprayed some dry shampoo on there, as well as just generally trying to draw her a little better. I know this is not maybe sustainable for the show and it would not be as like Butch Hartman-y, but you know, I did keep roughly the same design. And then on the other side, I tried to do like kind of my own take on it, where like I omitted this like horrendous belt and stylized it a little differently. I think it's weird that she's even supposed to be a dog because it's like her ears look like bunny ears. Like, what's even going on? But I kept them in both designs. So for the other design, I wanted to just make her look a little cuter. I think I got like a little bit furry hypnotized when I was drawing this. Anyway, I made her look a little more coyote-like because I was getting that vibe from her, particularly with her coloration. So I like elongated out her muzzle and made it look a little bit more like fox-like, more Lupin kind of vibes. And I just gave her a slightly different sweater dress and put a skirt underneath it just because I really didn't like the outfit. Because I felt like, you know, for the first one, I basically completely redesigned her, like changing her everything, like even her hairstyle a little bit. With the second one, I was basically just changing like the way that she was being stylized. So for this one, I wanted to do both. So the first one is just like, so it's just a very classic redraw, just putting everything where it belongs, putting those freckles actually over her nose, putting her nose where that vacant gap is, and then the other side is like how I would draw her if I was like a fan of Tough Puppy and wanted to make fan art. This is probably how I would do it. I used to be part of a lot of fandoms where the art style of the original thing was like not particularly conducive to fan communities. Like it just wasn't, you know, that detailed, or it was stylized in a way. And you know, this is totally how I would tackle that if I was still in that zone where I was like making Invader Zim fan art all the time. This is like my high res, high definition Becky fan art. I don't know what else to say. I've dug myself into a bit of a hole with this one, but that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it's slightly negative. I tried to stick to things that like there's actually something worthwhile talking about, and I hope that I didn't step on any toes with the things I'm talking about. These are obviously sensitive topics, particularly with the first two, so feel free to talk in the comments below. What are your feelings about this? And yeah, thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much to my wonderful patrons, including Ravenscrow, Zocelot, Winterheart, Harold Bird, Tea Hill Music, Tack Afton, Jabber Dabber Doo, Teddy Spaghetti, Avant Grape, Gender Was Stolen, For Spookable, it's Jamal! Kay, Rodrigo, Moonmilk, Kadaria, Deadly Nightshade Art, Maria Vasquez, Astral Fox Art, Middle Z, Dulce Mori VT, Lilia Lur, The Expressive Poker Face, Morrissey Axolotl, Tsubaki, Michael Lavali, Cutie Pie, Ruin Raincrow, Rainwater Pearls, Ice Cream Pal, Your Boy ST, JJ Jade, and of course, La Blah Blah Blah.